Dynamics ahead of the elections have taken a new twist exactly 38 days before Zimbabwe decides who will lead the country for the next 5 years. Independent presidential candidate Xavier Kasukuwere has now approached the Supreme Court as he battles to stay on the ballot. A good evening from the heart and soul of the nation. I'm Chamisa Chidi, and here are the news headlines. Kasukuwere battles to stay on the ballot ahead of polls. ZANU PF in sole election campaign as police bar opponents. Job Sikala remains in prison as prosecutor fails to show up. Mnangagwa prays for e-health for those who don't vote for him. Government to spend large on statues. NGOs say no to poll boycotts. Mabvuku on fire as Mayweather visits in July. For these and other stories, join me after this break. Welcome back, I'm Chamisa Chidi, and now here's the news in greater detail. ZANU PF appears to have succeeded in pushing out its former political commissar and self-exiled presidential candidate Xavier Kasukuwere from the race. Insiders said Kasukuwere had caused the ruling party sleepless nights, especially as his candidacy appealed to the ZANU PF rural vote, putting President Mnangagwa's re-election at risk. The High Court ruled that Kasukuwere's nomination papers were improperly accepted by the nomination court as he was not resident in Zimbabwe for a period exceeding 18 months. The judgment has, however, been appealed.
We successfully filed an appeal in the Supreme Court this morning under SC 387 of 2023. The net effect of that appeal is to suspend a High Court judgment. What does it mean? What it basically means that his status has reverted back to the time before the litigation by Lafte Bangwana was instituted, meaning that he remains on the ballot. He is a presidential candidate for 2023. I have seen and have heard on social media misleading conclusions of the law to the effect that the filed appeal does not suspend the judgment of the High Court. That is incorrect. That appeal suspends the decision of the High Court, and it entitles President Kasukuwere to remain on the ballot. He is a presidential candidate for 2023 until such time that any court of competent jurisdiction post the Supreme Court has ruled that he is not a presidential candidate. As matters stand, he is a presidential candidate. He remains on the ballot. Thank you.
Because of elements of cowardice in the current leadership, which is running like a headless chicken, because they are not sure of what's going to happen on the 23rd of August 2023, because they are very much aware that Comrade Kasukuwere enjoys support, even from within ZANU PF and from without ZANU PF. The leadership of ZANU PF doesn't know who to trust anymore. So they think that by cancelling July from the calendar, they would stop a cold spell. And this is not going to happen. Comrade Kasukuwere is here. His foot soldiers are on the ground, within and without the party, and we are forging ahead. And we would want to say to the people out there, don't be distracted.
There's no court of law anywhere in this country that can stop the people of Zimbabwe from choosing their own leaders. That is the basic principle of self-determination, to be able to choose who we want to lead us. And at the moment, the person we want to lead us is not Mr. Emerson Mnangagwa.
We believe that President Kasukuwere has got a strong case. It has always been strong from the beginning, which is why we have appealed against the High Court finding, which we found odd, and which stands suspended as of now until the Supreme Court makes a decision. Whilst we respect our courts, we believe that if indeed there is fairness and justice in the way this matter is going to be determined, there is no reasonable appellate court which can sustain the finding of the lower court, which is the High Court.
In the past 2 weeks, ZANU PF's power couple Monica and Christopher Mutsangwa joined hands to castigate Kasukuwere as the phantom candidate campaigning in the comfort of Twitter spaces and South African media booths. As they went after Kasukuwere, who was referred to as one of the criminals around ousted and late President Robert Mugabe, a court application by Lovedale Mangwana was brewing in the courts.
That is why the detractors have resorted to creating a phantom candidate, because they feel that there is a yawning gap in the ranks of the opposition. And you know who the phantom candidate is? None other Savior Kasukuwere.
Not worried about people who go and live outside the country and just 2 months before elections they start saying we want to be president. We are not worried about that.
ZANU PF appears to be running a solo presidential campaign as police have resorted to barring top contending candidate Nelson Chamisa from presenting his credentials to the electorate. Chamisa had intended to launch his campaign in Bindura last week, but instead spent the day addressing a Bindura magistrate. Blessed Mhlanga was in Bindura and filed this report.
Nelson Chamisa and his CCC party have accused the police of targeting them and creating an unfair playing field ahead of the August 23 polls. Chamisa, who is yet to kickstart his campaign, has had most, if not all, of his rallies blocked by the police since January this year. Last Saturday, he was suffocated by a ban in Bindura, with his lawyers saying ZANU PF had captured state institutions so as to allow ZANU PF to run against itself.
So we disagree with this position, and we maintain that this further shows that we have an even playing ground in this election. It shows that the democratic space has been eroded significantly. It shows that, as the CCC, we are not going to have a fair opportunity to contest in this plebiscite. It already shows that there is connivance within state institutions to protect the status quo, to protect ZANU PF. Right now, just as we were doing our processes here, we heard that there was another meeting by ZANU PF somewhere close or in the vicinity of the court. And to think that, these people were given authority to do that by the police. I mean, Mapurisa Esangaripana. We had all the police officers here. We don't know where this authority was given. And, the police never even mentioned that there was going to be a ZANU PF program today. So there is a selective application of the law. There is selective application of the Maintenance of Order in Public Act by, the responsible institutions. And this must be castigated. The international community must know that we are playing in a field where, you are getting into a match and both your legs are being tied up. So you can't properly score, because what we want and what we are fighting for and what we are pushing for is for a peaceful election. What we are pushing for and what we have always asked and advocated for is a fair and free election. ZANU PF knows that they cannot win a free and fair election, hence these machinations, hence this connivance by state institutions to ensure that President Nelson Chamisa is kept in the courts and not kept on the campaign trail. Thank you very much.
Supporters who gathered outside the Bindura Civil Magistrates Court were convinced that despite the attempt to block Chamisa and his team from the campaign road, they would still win the vote.
So kuti shungurudza kwacho kwanyanya izvo zvitangoti tina mate kuna Mwari kuti tifambe tidzokere mudzimba dzedu nenyasha. Zvakuda nyasha muZimbabwe pachokwadi. Because right now izvo zvitagaririrwa kuya kwataita vamwe vavharirwa vamwe vasungwa. Tanchirambidzwa kukwira motikari mabhazi tanchivharirwa kunza mupinde. Saka free and fair election yacho andisuzoti iripo here andisuziziva. But mari dzedu kuzeki vakatambira 1 2 vakatosaina iye Munangagwa akatosaina Emerson kuti anda kukwikwidwa. But apa zvese mabhazi ese aituta vanhu nozuro kuenda kwavo kumash west hakuna kavarambidza mabhazi ese maroad mamusina. But isisuka tashandisa tsoka dzedu maroad motikari dzedu tikurambidzwa zvese izvozvo. So ndiringokumbira Sadak yanonoka kupinda munyika, UN yanonoka kupinda munyika, because kushungurudzwa kwacho kwatotanga kwanyanya atina kwatinoenda kana tichidai. So kuda kuti dzorera hedu kumashure but ticharamba takadzvanya. Atisiye President Advocate Nelson Chamisa kusvika zvanaka nema ipapo tinganyeperane ticharamba takadzvanya kusvika zvanaka. manzwaka ticharamba takazhanya.
The CCC administrator said ZANU PF had taken over functions of all sectors of the state in the country, including councils, to further their own interest. In her view, the ruling party is an octopus which has its tentacles spread across all sectors to hold its grip on power.
I think I learned something, that the state itself has got a hand in every government institution. This is one thing that I learned during the period I've been going around. You go to council, you find the president's office is there. You find that even the town clerk herself is failing even to do her duties freely. You go everywhere, you go to the police, you move everywhere. You find that there is a hand of ZANU PF there.
ZANU PF has, however, been riding the crest, having rallies across the country without as much as any disturbances. But police have claimed that they have banned over 87 of ZANU PF rallies. This has been said without any evidence being tendered. In fact, on a Sunday in Bindura, just a kilometer away from where Nelson Chamisa's party was supposed to launch its campaign, ZANU PF held its own rally at Chipadze shops.
Bindura Civil Court was the center of the battle this whole afternoon between the police and Nelson Chamisa's CCC. Nelson Chamisa's CCC argued that the police had unfairly banned their rally, which was supposed to be the center of launching their springboard to the August 23 general elections. It has been denied. The police argued that they had not been given sufficient notice, and further that the venue that Chamisa and his party had chosen was in the middle of nowhere and presented security risks for the police to provide security. The magistrate, delivering her ruling, said that the rally had not been banned. The police have no power to ban the rally. But instead, once the police had written to the CCC arguing that their rally was unsafe to be held, the CCC ought to have given the police 5 days to find an amicable solution to allow the rally to go on. The magistrate found that the appeal by the CCC was not urgent and dismissed it, saying that now the CCC should go back and sit with the police and have an amicable solution to allow the rally to go on. But the rally has not gone on. The rally was supposed to happen today. The rally is not happening today. And just behind me are CCC supporters who had come for the rally. They are going home without listening to the message that their president was supposed to deliver. Reporting for HSTV and Newsday, Blessed Mhlanga.
ZANU PF will have its rally in Zaka this Sunday as Mnangagwa tries to secure his second and final term in office. Legislator Job Sikela, in pre-trial detention for over a year now, continues to suffer, with the state failing to conclude his trials owing to a number of reasons. Sikela was back this week but could not have his day in court because both prosecutor and magistrate were a no-show. Our reporter Nyasha Ruperi filed this report.
Suffering for more than a year of pre-trial detention, Legislator Job Sikela was back in court over the past week as his trial failed to take off because the prosecutor and magistrate did not show up. Appearing in court Tuesday under sub-zero temperatures, Sikela, who appeared to be in high spirits under the circumstances, complained through his lawyers over being brought to a court for no reason except to show his face. He said it would have been better to be remanded in his absence and giving him a chance to spend the day in the warmth of his blankets in Chikurubi. Sikela, facing charges of inciting public violence and another of obstructing justice, was sent back to Chikurubi after trial magistrate and prosecutor were both in no-show. His defense team spoke to the media.
Today we attended the matter where Job Sikala is accused with Godfrey Stole. The matter didn't proceed today as last remanded. This is because the magistrate was absent today and also the prosecutor was mandate. So the matter has been deferred to tomorrow for continuation.
Sikala was to be dragged to court the following day, to another disappointment, as the trial was postponed yet again because the witness who was supposed to testify was nowhere to be found. The witness, a Detective Inspector Mandiranga, who is alleged to have downloaded the video evidence which is supposed to nail Sikala, could not be located. The state alleges Sikala was caught on camera inciting public violence. Lawyer Jeremiah Bamu was unhappy with the consecutive postponements, saying they were deliberate attempts by the state to keep him further incarcerated as long as they can.
He is naturally anxious to have his matter expeditiously resolved. He is entitled to a fair trial within a reasonable time, and the inordinate amount of time it's taking to conclude this matter can be seen as vindictive justice. The desire is just to keep him inside for as long as they can, when they really know that they have no evidence against him, which is why the witnesses are failing to turn up for court and why they are constantly asking to postpone the matter.
Sikala is likely to play no role in the upcoming election, as he is not on the ballot and has no prospect of being released anytime soon. An outspoken legislator and fearless politician, he has been a thorn in the flesh of President Emmerson Mnangagwa's government. The international community has expressed concern over the pre-trial detention of Sikala. Reporting from the Harare Magistrate Court, Nyasha Aruperi, HSTV News and Current Affairs.
President Mnangagwa shocked many when he prayed for his supporters to fall sick in the event they don't vote for him. Mnangagwa, who was addressing one of his rallies in Mashonaland West in a mock prayer, said he wished ill health for those who had adopted Nelson Chamisa's Mango strategy. The strategy entails attending ZANU PF rallies and gatherings, wearing their regalia, but voting for Chamisa.
Mabona abantu venyu vandafunza vakatonya vhota Mwari ndiye munoziva zviri muhana dzavo vanenge vanyepa Mwari ngavagware.
Government, which poured thousands of United States dollars on the Mbuyane Understation footbridge, has indicated it will be embarking on another program to appease the dead by erecting statues of ousted President Robert Mugabe and Father Zimbabwe. Mugabe, who died a bitter man, was ousted from power in a coup by the same government which will now honor him.
The nation is further advised that in recognition of the roles played by Comrade Robert Gabriel Mugabe and Dr. Joshua Mabvuku Nyongolo Ngomo, who selflessly dedicated their lives for the liberation of Zimbabwe, Cabinet approved the erection of statues in Harare. The statue of the late Comrade Robert Mugabe will be erected at the Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport, while the second one of Dr. J.M.N. Ngomo, the statue will be erected at the Trumpet Interchange at the intersection of Joshua Ngomo and Glenara Roads. That's in Harare.
Triple C leader Nelson Chamisa addressed an impromptu rally in Gokwe after hours of battling another ban in the Midlands. In a statement, the Triple C said, open court, President Nelson Chamisa swiftly addressed the citizens at Gokwe Center after our scheduled rally faced an initial ban. Our legal team diligently fought the ban through the courts, resulting in its lift around 4 p.m. In less than 20 minutes, he faced a crowd of hundreds of citizens who had assembled of their own accord. There was no transportation provided, no handouts, no complimentary food, and no forceful gathering of citizens. Close quote. Chamisa, who now launches his rally in Gweru this Sunday, has resorted to guerrilla campaigns, traveling in the countryside and quietly meeting supporters as he continues to gnaw into President Mnangagwa's rural base. Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi arrived in the country Thursday as the two countries solidified trading and economic ties. President Mnangagwa and his Iranian counterpart signed 12 memorandums of understanding spanning over economics and politics.
We have signed a record of 12 MOUs. I have no doubt, and I'll show you, my dear brother, that on our side in Zimbabwe, we shall religiously follow up these MOUs for the benefit of the two republics, but in particular for us in Zimbabwe to tap into the technological advancement which your country has achieved.
For sure, these feelings are rooted in the victory of our Islamic revolution. Our people showed to the world that they are heroes, and of course they showed that they have a great leader. For sure, these feelings are related to a country that, despite all the threats and despite all the sanctions, being able to stand on its own feet, a free country, autonomous country, independent and democratic. For sure, this respect is to our national heroes, martyr Haj Qasem General Soleimani, Haj Qasem Soleimani. And for sure, these respect and feelings are related to a nation that have been for 44 years resisting against excessive demands.
Leading human rights lawyer and director for the human rights NGO Forum, Musa Kika, has said Zimbabwe is heading to a contested election result because the electoral playing field was unfair. Kika, however, said a boycott was not an option and urged Zimbabweans to vote. Kika was speaking to Blessed Mhlanga on Free Talk.
You cannot have an election that is deemed to be free, fair, credible, without citizens participating freely. Right? Citizens have political rights. They have many other rights that they have. And if you limit their ability to participate, you are tainting the credibility of that election, the freeness and the fairness of that election. Unfortunately, that is almost inevitable given what we are seeing at the moment. Yeah, there is no consensus when it comes to election boycotts. What I would say is in a normal democracy where things work, a boycott is an important form of protest. It conveys a message that everything is not okay, and it gets those who have conscience and who have the power to act and to act properly to restore the situation to normalcy. but not here.
Turning to entertainment. In a rare feat, Mabvuku residents had an opportunity to experience Mayweather in July. Retired boxer Floyd Mayweather was in the populous Mabvuku Tafara constituency at the invitation of ZANU PF parliamentary candidate Scot Sakupwanya. Hundreds of residents struggling to put food on the table as the economic collapse continues to wreak havoc. The people gathered in Mabvuku to watch over $1 million United States dollars being blown in shadow boxing matches. Our reporter Wongaikawa filed this report.
It was the height of extravagance in Mabvuku Tafara as the Maria Antoinette of Zimbabwean politics, Pedzisai Scot Sakupwanya, invited his poor constituents to feast their eyes on the big boy spending cash. Motorcades littered with top-of-the-range SUV luxury cars and top-dollar clothes invaded the dusty and old high-density suburb on the back of a retired boxing champion, Floyd Mayweather. Looking to win the constituents under a ZANU PF ticket, Sakupwanya, a gold dealer, said bringing Mayweather in July was a sign his party was committed to fulfilling its promise to the people of Zimbabwe.
But I'm going to come to the motherland. Vazhinji vakafunga kuti ndezvekunyepa. So ndikuti kune Mabvuku Tafara sezvo ndikumirira ZANU PF. So ndichapromisa zvese zvinouya.
Although it's not clear how much was spent in bringing Mayweather to Zimbabwe on his private plane, the junket is suspected to have gobbled over $1 million United States dollars from Scot's purse. Part of the exhibits included shadow boxing matches which involved yesteryear great Alfonso Zenyika. Mayweather himself danced around a punching bag and signed a few gloves to earn his keep. Vongaikawa for HSTV News, Mabvuku, Harare.
The Zimbabwe College of Music Choral Music Festival has come back to life after 3 years of COVID-19-induced lockdowns. Our arts reporter Winston Antonio filed this report.
For joy, musical harmony and a tenor of emotions as Heavenly Praise Choir of Mfakosi won this year's Zimbabwe College of Music Choral Music Festival. The competitions had been put on ice owing to a 4-year COVID-induced sabbatical. In an afternoon filled with musical notes, rhythm, and artistic ingenuity, the 60-member group claimed the community choirs category, while Sekebak Church Choir were ultimate winners under the church category. The choirs pocketed US $500 plus a trophy and a certificate for their efforts. Judges spoke on the quality of the competition.
Chekutanga panonzi key intonation ipapapa tatichinyatsopatarise kuti dzimbo dzekuramba tirimo here, texture yedu, tone quality yedu iri kutibvumira here kuti tirambe takabata nesekwaya, nekuti hatikuya tiri soprano chete apa, hatikuya tiri alto chete, tirikuya tiri kwaya tiri one.
They included Majestic Choral and Rua Choral, who came second and third respectively under Community Choirs category to receive US $400 and $300 in that order. In the church category, St. Faith Budiriro Anglican and AFM in Zimbabwe Kwadzana Central were adjudged second and third respectively to walk away US $400 and US $300 richer for their efforts. Music is to the soul what food is to the stomach. Winston Antonio reporting for HSTV News here at the Zimbabwe College of Music in Harare.
We turn to the video of the week.
If corruption has overtaken community to the degree that the justice system is corrupt, the police is corrupt, everyone is corrupt, the ministers are corrupt, everything is corrupt, if that happens to any country, any nation, then those who are upright, their survival is at risk. The reason is when they come up to say, guys, don't do this, it's wrong, the police will attack them, the judges will judge against them, the ministers will be against them, the entire nation will be fighting them because they've been making their money in the wrong way. They've been into bribery. You know, you could bribe perhaps in some countries the justice system from the chief justice all the way down. Perhaps in some countries it is, and we've read about it, it's such that they're all corrupt. So the upright are sitting in the prisons. And you know what? Those who are the most corrupt, who are supposed to be in the prisons, are actually the ones who are jailing everyone. It can happen. It does happen.
This was the weekly roundup with me, Chengetwe Chidi. Do have a wonderful weekend and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss our top stories and engaging interviews. This weekly roundup is brought to you by the Zimbabwe Independent, The Standard, Newsday, and HSTV News and Current Affairs. From myself and the crew behind the scenes, good night.